everybody, and welcome to our next our consciousness class. I'm sorry, I should have used the other camera, shouldn't I? That did look pretty good. We were doing a tech check. They just made us upgrade our program, and it's a little bit discombobulating, to say the least. But here we are, and we're live. I want to welcome you to, gosh, what is this, class 8 or 9 of our consciousness class series, and we're really happy that you made it here live. I just wanted to let everybody know that as of, I believe it'll be starting with this particular class, we are going to be moving this into the premium section of the GIC. So if you would like to participate in this class for free, this is the time to do it. We'll be here every Tuesday at 5 p.m.-ish, depending on technical difficulties that might slow us down. Again, I apologize for that. But if you do miss the class, the archives are going to be moved into the premium page section, and that will be available starting next week. So by all means, make this a special time for you and a special time to enhance and empower your consciousness and enhance and empower yourself at this time every week. We would love to see more of you join us live here on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. So without further ado, I would like to welcome all of you again to, I believe, like I said, it's our 8th or 9th consciousness class here in this particular series. We've been covering an enormous amount of topics, an enormous amount of energy work, and today we're going to be discussing, to round up our brain month here on the GIC, we're going to talk a little bit about how to pamper your mind, how to pamper your emotions, and how to have a better way of dealing with the way that our mind works, and a better way of dealing with our emotions. And then after that, for part 2, we will be doing a very important exercise for me. This is kind of a basic that everybody really needs to do regularly, whether it be daily, weekly, at the most weekly. It is an exercise. A lot of different traditions use it. I call it anchoring the light and moving through the chakras. This will be a continuation of what we were doing a couple weeks ago, before we took the time off to recalibrate everything. We're going to move into toning and using tones, and as well we're going to be using the tones that work with your particular chakra. So if you've never done a standing meditation, this is the one I was talking about a couple weeks ago when I said we're going to be doing a standing meditation, and we'll do that during the second half of today's consciousness class. Let me make sure that I have my chat on for you guys, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me here on the chat. Please use a personal message. Just click on the GIC icon and it'll go directly to me. That way we don't interrupt the regular chat room. Again, this is a members only chat. This is an interactive class for our members. It is part of one of the benefits of being a member of the Global Illumination Council, is to be able to interact with us during these members only classes and or webcasts. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the mind. Let's talk a little bit about how to nurture your mind, how to really benefit the most that we can. Now, over the last several weeks, we know that you may have noticed that we've been doing a lot of programs about the brain on the Global Illumination Council, from the interview with James Olson discussing the whole brain path to peace, talking with Miriam Delicano, the Divine Brain series that just came out a couple days ago, which, by the way, thank you very much, is really making its rounds around the world. And now what I'd like to do is bring it here into the classroom setting, in this intimate setting, and talk about ways that we can learn how to function at a higher capacity and a higher vibration. And the first thing I have to say when it comes to the mind is that your mind is working a lot. It takes care of your heart, it takes care of your lungs, it takes care of the blood, it takes care of your nerves, it tells you how to move. It sends the signals to your arm to tell your arm to move. It sends the signals to your legs to walk. It tells you when you're hungry. And not only that, it's working full time when you're at work, whether you're doing manual labor or whether you're doing office work or computer work or desk work. Your mind is working. It's a busy, busy, and probably the busiest besides your heart, the busiest organ in your body. So we have to remember that we need to take time to allow the brain to relax. A lot of times when we think about relaxation, the first thing that comes to mind is somebody sitting on a hammock drinking a tropical cocktail. But that's relaxing the body. Laying down, taking a break is relaxing the body. If you're not allowing your mind to rest, you're not really relaxing. You're just laying down. You're letting your muscles rest. You're letting your heart rest, but you're not letting your mind rest. So learn to cultivate a way that works for you to allow your brain to relax. Help it to stop thinking. Of course, we can talk about meditation from here till the cows come home, but allowing the brain to just take a break. I know for me, uh, a good example is today. I mean, today was a very busy work day for me. I had to take an hour to just, I don't know what I was watching, some comedy, just take a break from life, and relax. Let the brain relax. So do that for yourself. Please do that for yourself. It is a part of the whole that is you, and it is a part of the whole aspect of what we do here as far as empowering yourself. You'll get a lot more done because you won't have to go back and fix things if you're not doing things when you're fatigued or you're tired. So, or your brain is fatigued or tired. With that, there's a lot that we're working on here, and again, we're covering a very large amount of information, and some of it you'll agree with, and some of it you won't agree with. But one of the things that I feel is very, very important, and I speak of this very often, but here is an extended explanation, a more detailed explanation of what I mean about being vigilant. Being vigilant of what you allow your senses to see, sense, hear, and whatnot. We hear a lot of talk on the internet about, television and propaganda, the internet and propaganda, and the media and propaganda, and how it affects you subconsciously and whatnot. Well, let's get a real grasp on that. Let's understand what's happening here. Is that well? Here's a very good example. How many of you, and I hope it's none, but how many of you, or in the past, have had the TV on all day long while you're walking around, cleaning the house, working on the computer, just to have that droning on in the background. I know several people in my life that I know just leave the TV on all day long in the background while they're eating, while they're out, doing the lawn or whatever. They come back in, the TV's still going on. Do you realize that when you're hearing words, all right, you don't even need to be looking at the television. Yes, of course, when you're looking at the television, it does do something and creates, I believe it's puts you in an alpha state where you're just like droning and you're honed in to the vision of it. But what about subconsciously what it does to your brain from what you're hearing? The same thing goes for commercial radio. How many times have you left the radio station on when you're just working or whatever to listen to those 10 minutes of commercials telling you that you're too fat, that you're too broke, that that you need a, I don't know, a bail bondsman, whatever the commercials may be. It is affecting you subconsciously, whether you want to believe it or not. Let's get real here. Anything that goes into your brain is going to try to figure out where to sort it, try to create a place for it, whether it becomes a memory or not, or whatnot. But the brain is always working, and if it hears words, it's going to put it somewhere. And if you're not paying attention to what you're listening to, whether it be radio or television, if you're not paying attention, it kind of just floats around in there. And this has been scientifically proven, so please, by all means, go research this, go find the reports, that when you are not paying attention is the easiest time that you can be programmed, brainwashed, etc. When you're not paying attention, it just floats around until it finds a way to utilize it. And that may utilize it in behavioral, in the way that we look at ourselves, in fear, or in love. So it is very important to turn off the TV, turn off commercial radio. If you're not paying attention, please just have quiet. You don't need to have something in the background all the time. I used to be one that would have to fall asleep with the TV on. And I'd leave the TV on all night, and I had to have it on in the background. I can't imagine what. No wonder I was such a crazy 20-something-year-old. Through my childhood and my teens, my parents let me have the TV on while I was sleeping. So, and it took a lot of work to deprogram from all of that, a lot. And of course, I know I'll always struggle with certain things that I need to overcome because of that programming that went on subconsciously. So turn off the TV, turn off the radio, turn off the internet. Be nice to yourself. Learn to, take a break every once in a while. Learn to nurture your brain. Let's talk about using your brain now. Now I've spoken a little bit about what happens when you're not using your brain and you're not paying attention. Let's talk about using your brain. What are you doing to stimulate the brain? Intentionally stimulate the brain. Are you, okay, I can understand if you work on the computer and you're a coder and you're using math and all that. I do coding, minimal coding for GIC, but it makes you focus and you're constantly thinking and problem solving and whatnot. But what are you doing if you're not working on computer codes? What are you doing if you're not a mathematician, if you're not a writer, if you're not creative? What are you doing to stimulate your brain function? One of my favorite things to do when I'm feeling like I need a little workout, we talk about working on our body. What about working on our brain? One of the things I like to do is crosswords. I used to hate them as a kid. I still really don't like them, but I do them because I feel better after I do it. And there's a lot of other things that you could do. Reading a book is very important. It does make you use your brain. Problem-solving skills. Figure out something where you can use your problem-solving skills in. And that doesn't mean breaking up a fight between your children. That means that's good parenting. But solving issues, solving problems, solving dilemmas, something that really pushes your brain to the brink and gets you out of your comfort zone. Because as we get older, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, our brain capacity begins to deteriorate. I think it's like right after you turn 30, it's like the brain just starts shutting down. So we have to constantly be exercising it. So do brain teasers, do those problem-solving games. I know people make fun of games like on Facebook and whatnot. I happen to like some of them. And the ones I really like are the problem-solving ones, like Jeopardy! It's a trivia one, but it makes you think about history and culture and whatnot. Are you smarter than a fifth grader? That's pretty scary when you're not. So, things like that. Keep the brain stimulated. What can you do? You don't even need to do games. You don't need to do crosswords, but find something that works for you individually to keep your brain stimulated and flexing that muscle. It's a very, very important organ, and it needs to be used regularly. Again, when it comes to the health of our brain likes to be soothed. And I don't mean soothing music. Well, yes, maybe I do mean soothing music. But I feel it's also very important that we allow ourselves to be in contact with beauty. And no, I don't mean the Pamela Andersons and the Brad Pitts of People magazine. I'm talking about natural beauty, nature, architecture, art, flowers, whatever it is that you find to be beautiful. There's nothing wrong with seeing the female form or the male form as beautiful when you're looking at it as beauty. You're not lusting. There's nothing wrong with lust either, but I'm talking about beauty in the sense of what is beautiful. We want to surround ourselves in beauty on occasion. It's very good for the soul. It's very good for your brain. It allows your brain to be creative. It creates new neural pathways, which is very important. And the more you're surrounded with beauty, the more your brain will create those neural pathways and make them stronger to where it is always in a state of beauty. I know maybe this doesn't make any sense to you, but do look this up. It's called neuroplasticity. We talk about it all the time. And as you create these pathways, they remain stronger and linger longer. I believe that Miriam was talking about it in our last broadcast about the light channels that she visualizes, and she sees these light channels, and they get stronger and stronger every time she does it. The same thing goes with creating these neural pathways. How do you find beauty? Look outside. If you live in a big city, go to a museum. Go see something that is inspiring to you, that makes you in awe of what you're seeing. Of course, this only works for those of us that have vision. For those of us that don't have vision, use your imagination. I don't know what it's like not to have vision, but I would think we have the ability to envision beautiful colors, beautiful images, shapes, forms, and whatnot. So there really is no excuse to be around, not to be around beauty and not to cultivate it in your own life. And again, it's very good for your brain. It is going to help you to create wonderful neural pathways that are going to make you feel more empowered, not only on your day to day, but the more you do it throughout your entire life. So go for a walk in the park. Go to, I don't go see beautiful sculptures. Go see beautiful men, beautiful women, whatever floats your boat. But remember, beauty is a part of life, and there's nothing wrong with it. You know, we post a lot of pictures on Facebook of just beautiful homes, beautiful gardens, beautiful waterfalls and landscapes. And you know, and I know, the moment you see something like that, it does take you back. And you're like, wow, that makes me feel really good. Look how beautiful that makes me feel. So please remember how important beauty is. And it's not being, what's the word, shallow to like to have beauty around you. It's very spiritual to acknowledge the power of beauty. Tackle a fear, one of my favorites, and we talk about this once in a while, and I've brought it up once or twice in maybe a radio broadcast or two in the past, but to really choose one thing you're afraid of and work through it. I know it sounds cliche, but you would be amazed how many fears you might have on a day-to-day basis, whether it be getting in your car. Maybe you have a little fear of driving because may have had a bad accident. Maybe you have a fear of people walking out in public. Maybe you have a fear of walking across the street. Maybe you have a fear of going in your refrigerator and not seeing any food because you were once very poor. You know, there's all these small fears that after a while they do kind of handicap us in our ability to be fearless. And that's what we're working toward here. And when I mean here on the planet. We're here to overcome our fear. We're here to move into a place of love and not let fear be a controlling factor in our behavior, or the way that we think, or the way that we live our life. So if we're going to do that, we have to figure out, and I'm sure while you're listening to my voice, you may have already come up with one or two things that you fear. I know for me as a kid, and it shows. As a kid, my father used to make me work with him on his banking stuff, and ever since then, I've always hated finance, and it shows, unfortunately. And I'm working through that now. I'm tackling that fear of finance. Thank goodness, or we wouldn't be here in a couple of months. However, that just shows you an example of something. Just pick one thing and work through it. And when I say work through it, I mean really come face to face with it. Figure out, where did it come from. I finally figured out where mine came from. Figure out where it came from and say, I'm not going to let that make my life less than it can be. I'm going to conquer this fear, and I'm going to come out of the other end successful. I'm going to come out of the other end more empowered, so that this can no longer harm me. This can no longer slow me down or hold me back on my life's path. Pick a fear. Any fear that you have. And you can start off small. You know, some people are afraid of animals. Like, you'd be amazed. I come from the big city, so you would be amazed of the people that I knew that were just afraid of nature. They were afraid of bugs. They were afraid of getting dirty. They were afraid of mosquitoes, of cockroaches, of raccoons or squirrels. don't forget, again, I'm from Miami, so these were people that lived in high rises and whatnot. They've never seen a squirrel or a raccoon, and like, ah. But again, it just goes to show you that there could be any type of fear. And the positive thing I wanted to say was that, eventually I would talk them into, let's go have a picnic in the park, or let's go horseback riding, or let's go take a walk through a trail or whatnot. And you would see their transformation, like their face would glow when, let's say a little, I don't know, small deer or something would appear. Instead of being scared of it, they would start to smile. And that's what's going to happen with you when you start going through the process of just conquering one of those fears that you might have. Again, I know we all probably have dozens of them, hundreds of them, who knows? But if you can just start by tackling one, you will find that you will become more empowered and have a clearer way and a clearer perception, not only of yourself, but of the world around you. And what I mean by clear, a more true versus created by our own ego. And then last but not least in this particular segment, I wanted to talk about mind-altering substances. You know me, I'm very liberal, socially liberal. I believe in the use of particular plant medicines for spiritual use. I do believe in having a couple drinks at the end of the day to relax. I do believe that we should have the freedom to choose what we put into our body and not have a federal government or society frown upon us for doing something where we are not doing something harmful. Now that's the key: moderation and harmlessness. If you're overdoing something, your body's going to tell you. If you're drinking too much, you're going to have a hangover. If you're doing too much, I don't know, anything. If you smoke too much marijuana, you're not going to get anything done, or you're going to eat out your refrigerator. But everything in moderation. And please also be aware of what you're putting into your body. We have a lot of the social drugs are out there that are being made in people's closets and bathrooms and whatnot. Nobody knows what's being put in that. So, if you can't get it from, somewhere that is reputable, for whatever reputable might mean, don't do that, I can't stress how much, how many nightmares. As a former party boy from South Beach, I would take one thing thinking it's one thing and be up for 3 days and saying, oh, that wasn't what I thought it was it? And how much time it really takes to really align your psyche back with your spiritual center when something like that happens. We talked about it on the Divine Brain. I call it cosmic whiplash. It's like, whoa, you went so far out there that, you kind of like broke something. And then you have to create those new neural pathways again. So it's not worth it. Besides the fact that, you are killing brain cells, don't overdo it, is all I'm saying. Please be aware. And if you do have a problem, you need to really, really, again, there's that fear thing. Face the fear. If you're smoking too much weed, if you're drinking too much, if you're partying too hard all the time, you got to conquer that fear. You need to move and get some help, whether it be in recovery or rehab or whatnot. Listen, I myself, in my 20s, I went to rehab several times just from overdoing it. Don't forget, I'm from the 80s in Miami, so you can imagine. But I got out of it, and I moved on, and I loved the experience that I had to learn about myself. So when you are ingesting these particular substances, just know when too much is too much, and learn how to say that's enough. And with that, I just wanted to also throw in there the idea of pharmaceuticals and medicines. Again, where does it come from? What's in it? Many of us get addicted to psychiatric drugs and don't even realize it. I talk about this in the past, and I'm not going to be Tom Cruise here, but I have to say that I thought that antidepressants were to help you get through a rough spot, not to take for the rest of your life, and then to add another drug because that one stopped working. So just because a doctor prescribes it, and I think that's the only point I'm trying to make here, is just because a doctor prescribes it doesn't mean it's in your best interest. So you have to listen to your body and use common sense. If you've been on Zoloft or Paxil or whatever the drugs are these days for more than 2 years, you need to ask yourself either what's wrong with your doctor or what are you not facing. Because I myself have been through depression. I understand depression. I understand when you have the loss of a loved one, a loss of a parent, or overcoming drug addiction, you're going to feel very depressed. I understand that. But there comes a time where eventually you do come out of the depression, usually naturally. Time does heal all wounds. I hate to say it, it's true, it does. So if, 3 to 6 months later, you're still taking this medicine and it's not necessary, you need to ask yourself why. Is it just because you're afraid of not going back into that place? Excuse me. And I say this from experience. They put me on antidepressants when I was 13 years old, and I took them well into my 30s. And there just came a day, one day, I was like, what am I doing? Actually, I had to learn that they were made with fluoride. And most of them do have fluoride in them. And I was like, they've had me on this most of my life. What is going on here? I'm not depressed anymore. Yeah, I had problems, uh, with the loss of my mother or whatnot. We all do. We all do. But you get over it after a few months. So again, just because a doctor prescribes it to you doesn't mean you need it. You need to really look at this in a more holistic way. And remember that it does affect your brain. It does affect your brain. So I hope that I've given you some food for thought. Again, a lot of this is just from my experience. A lot of this just comes from my intuition, what I've observed, what I've gone through myself. By all means, please follow up. Please investigate any of these topics that I've covered. But remember to relax. Remember to turn off your TV, turn off your radio if you're not paying attention. Don't leave it on in the background. Preferably don't even watch commercial TV or radio. Stimulate your brain. Keep your brain working. Keep it exercising. Keep it growing. It is a muscle. You need to use it or you're going to lose it. And that's the reality of it. See beauty. You're allowed to see beauty. It's beautiful to feel beautiful. And you're allowed to be beautiful. That's the other thing. But that's a whole other topic. Tackle a fear. Work through a fear. And last but not least, watch out for the mind-altering chemicals and be very responsible with that, whether it be prescription or not. I'm going to be taking a short break, and I'll be back in about 2 to 5 minutes. I have to reset up the camera. We're going to be doing a standing meditation. When I return, we're going to work on anchoring our light, and then we're going to work on moving through the chakras. And what I mean by that is we're going to be doing a toning meditation, and we're going to basically awaken all your chakra centers using voice. And from there, we're going to expand our light. And you're just going to love this particular exercise. So I'll be back in about 5 minutes, within 5 minutes, and we'll go ahead and start that. So thank you, and stick around. We'll be right back.